Better late than never. Let's do this, everybody. Who's going to show up today? Who's going to write some comments? I got a DreamBot that is contracting. We're going to talk about that. Are you feeling the contraction? I put a list together of some examples of the contraction, especially here with the DreamBot, the way it works, the algorithm. That's showing contraction. And the DreamBot itself, the results. Cut the music. The results today are looking like numbers, not necessarily contraction, but we're gonna show you that. Lots of math, lots of numbers, timeline, and then we're gonna do a search down into some astrology because of this contraction and see what the heck is going on with Saturn and the planet of contraction. This is our live chart. Get rid of those. Here's your live chart. We are doing this show on the 8th of October at about 10:12 a.m. Central Time. And here we have Mars rising in Scorpio, Mars and Mercury closing in on each other. This is just post full moon. Full moon was in Aries. How was yours, everybody? Slept great up until about 4 o'clock. We had some ashwagandha, so that helped us really calm down, and not too many problems sleeping with this Aries illuminated energy, so thankful for that. Let's see, we had Venus going over the south node, still, conjunct, and going through some tumultuous changes with this grand trine on Pluto and Uranus. So relationships are changing. Finance is it's definitely changing. We'll talk about that, and we'll have to do with this this theory of contraction. I'm just going based on the DreamBot alone. That's what that inspired this contraction thing. And that's what got me curious about Saturn. Now, Saturn's been on this little mini grand trine for quite some time, and being that it's been there, I haven't noticed this contraction. But in hindsight, I've seen the long trend towards it. Let me describe that a little bit. Let me show you the DreamBot first, okay? Let's do that. There we go. Let's go down to the bottom. The heavy theme here is chat, comms, and social. It is interacting. It's very Mercury based communication. But then there's an unusual number of numbers, math, counting, and that's 8. And then there's a timeline. You've got two years now. 2025 makes sense, but does it make sense? I mean, we've had plenty of time for our baseline to kick in for the 2025. So I don't even understand why we have 2025 in here, but why does 2023 keep on increasing? I mean, it's not a huge increase, but it is still in this run. It's mind-boggling. There's something in 2023 that's important. Green tea with some cayenne pepper. Delicious. Unsweetened. And then, so we have timeline in there, and then we have an Earth theme, and we'll talk about why that's important. Well, let's do it now. 4 words are showing steady and earthy. Earth, like astrology, earth. Oak. Sure, like SURE. Know, like you know something. And last. Now, I've got 3 of these themes are on this word last. So this version in the green is it lasts a long time. So that's very earthy. It's strong. It's fixed. And yeah, there's only 4 in here, but I think what's happening in the collective is there is just so much change that's happening. Going back to the astrology, looking in the lower right-hand corner with Pluto and Aquarius has just been changing the background, and not like in your face. It's just now starting to bubble up, right? And you're seeing a manifestation of what we already knew, big changes. But when you have that amount of change, then you automatically have kind of the opposite as a result. Like people don't want to change. Some of us don't want to change, and that's the fixed signs in the astrology, and so they become more prominent. Whereas when we weren't massively changing, it doesn't challenge them to adapt with it. I mean, yeah, they still seem like fixed kind of personalities, but they didn't have anything changing them or forcing them to change that caused them to be louder or more obnoxious. So I think that's why you see this. Perhaps we'll look at next week and see where we're at, but this clear influence or I don't know, thread of fixedness in the DreamBot run. But the prominent is the blue. So at the top, messenger. That's not at the very top. The first word is October, but messenger, top word of this meme, chat, audio, browser, who, friend, interpretation, read or read, members, thread. So just a lot of interpersonal, intercommunication, social chat. It's pretty obvious, pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. But look at the math. Add, number, these are the red arrows. Share. Sharing implies, it could be the interpersonal or the social. In fact, I probably could put another blue arrow there, but I'm thinking rarely do we have a share of that doesn't answer how much do you share. Like it's going to be either a time, an effort, or some sort of objective number. So that's why I put share in there. Sub is subtract. That's a math term. Date. Date has numbers. Log. We log numbers and count. And then last. There's last again. The last word just happens to be last. And the word last is in 3 of our themes. So in this case, it's the last of the number. However long your list is, the last one is denotes a number. And then we have timeline, October 2023, future 2025, and guess what? Last. So, well, what do you make of that? Last. There's 3 different themes. Interesting. So what is the overall flair here? Well, I think it's if you could probably put timeline into the numbers and the math. So we have this heavy emphasis in the collective on numbers and time and counting. Yeah, but who's counting? And we have I do still have that question. Why 2023? Who can answer that? I need answers. Okay. But the numbers in here confirm. No, let me back up. Okay, so on the DreamBot, I don't have the guts of the DreamBot. So the behind the scenes in the algorithm, I put into the algorithm inclusion of it looks for all of the words that have a positive change in its a surge scale score. Surge scale score just looks at all the different factors of how we can compare words and their number of hits, but we want each word to compare it to itself. Anyway, most of the words, the vast majority of the tens of thousands of words in the dictionary have negative surge scores, surge scale scores, and only a few of them have positive ones. So then this is how we rank order them, is in the surge scale score. the number of words is declining. And it's been alarming. So the last time this happened, it turns out that a couple of the Dream websites was down, had changed, had one of them was sold to the big winner, but uh, they didn't keep the website going, so the website was done. So that could be what's happening here, is just a loss of more Dream websites, which it's it's good and bad. It's bad in that it shows a contraction of the words just because there's simply less words and less hits. But when I go look for these, a lot of times what will happen is there's new websites that spawn up. So you got to just keep with it. If I find any, I'll put those into the DreamBot. But then if anything changes there, if there's any websites that either go away or get added, then we have to go back through this baseline thing again. But here, the whole point of this discussion, the contraction, was that the number of positive words, positive search scale words, are declining. And they've been declining for roughly 4 weeks now. And this is getting down below 100. 100 words in tens of thousands of words are positive. And it used to be when I don't know, earlier in 2025, those number of words, positive search scores were in the mid 200s to mid 300s. And so now getting down below 100, it's alarming. And it's not like it's a problem. I'm just noticing that it's contracting. That's my point. Contracting. What else is contracting? I'm noticing from just here DreamBot to National Dream Center YouTube to the US government shutdown. Like there's contraction everywhere. And of course, like we talked about, we live in a bipolar world of duality, where you don't just see one vector. Where there's one, there's the opposite. So yeah, there's parts of life that is contracting, but if you look for it, there will be parts and pieces of humanity or life that is expanding, of course. And hence that we see this now. But now that I look at it, I'm looking at the YouTube channel is contracting. And then all the way up to the sort of the top, the government shutdown and the talk of mass layoffs. And what is that? But yet, the stock market is still at all-time highs, and gold is shooting through an all-time high and won't stop. It's I don't know, almost $4,100 now. What's up with that? Well, I think that could be more contraction in availability of the resource itself. Speaking in terms of supply and demand, higher demand. Why? Unpredictability. Some people think that it points to war. I don't necessarily agree with that. It doesn't have to. Just because gold is at an all-time high does not automatically infer that we're headed towards war. If you look at the VIX, and this isn't a financial channel, but if you look at the VIX, the volatility marker, it's just at an all-time low. So if gold was going through because of war, you'd probably see the VIX going up as well, because it's a volatility indicator and war is volatile. It's like at an all-time low. I mean, all-time low on the VIX is like 9. It's at 16 right now. It's just hovering down a really low fear. It's a fear indicator, and there's not much fear on the markets. And it doesn't surprise me because they own everything. So they put it where they want it, and it'll never have another recession. But I'm also seeing contraction in other places. In my practice, I'm seeing marriages contracting, and from both sides, I'm seeing lots of young people, maybe even midlife kind of people, not midlife, maybe just prior to midlife, who just don't want to get married. I'm seeing more and more of them, but I'm also seeing married couples who are calling it quits and learning how to put boundaries down and learn how to separate and move on. So marriages in general contracting in my opinion. I don't know what the stats are. It used to be, when I went through training, like 50% rate of divorce rates 50%. I don't know if that's gone up or I don't know. I'm just showing or just talking about the observations that I've had more recently. So in terms of the economy, we have prices going to all-time highs, especially in housing, but even that, people are talking about a contraction. Has it happened yet? I think in pockets. I don't know because I'm not in those pockets and I'm not on the market to buy a house, so I don't know. And I'm not needing to sell a house, so I just don't know in actuality. But probably the best term that I've heard is hyperstagflation. That's like what we've been working on for more like probably a decade. That's where I've heard this term is probably about 15 years ago. But that's the end state. Hyperstagflation is where you have a form of hyperinflation, but only on resources and things that people need. And those prices go like insanely high, but meanwhile, everything else just sort of stagnates. And that's the term hyperstagflation. Not my term. That's coined by somebody else. Somebody else claimed it, but I like it. And I think we're just at the very beginning of it. So there is an element of contraction in that when the U.S. Okay, so, oh boy, got a lot to say. Trump, but there's this kind of, I don't know if it's fake or just theater or political theater or whatever, but you have increasing, printing, trying to bring the interest rate down to zero. That's like Trump's side because you want to inflate the system away. We want to avoid currency contraction. That would be good for the dollar. But I think some people are saying that we're speeding along to try to hurry up and collapse the old system because there's a new one awaiting. What do you guys think there? So that could be, it's ironic. It'd be inflating away, hyperstagflating away the system, and that's the paradox of hyperstagflation. Is stagnation in and of itself stagflation is probably, according to Keynesian currency or Keynesian economics, is the worst for that system because it's kind of more like a pyramid scheme or a debt-based system that implodes if you don't just keep inflating away the debt. At some point, the stagflation comes in, and the virus is where these debts become unpaid, and that gets bigger and bigger, and the whole thing just pancakes down. And so then, you bring the interest rates down to zero, which is what most of the governments have been doing, which only brings the currency down, but forces us to pay more for bread and housing and whatnot. So where are we headed? I don't know. I'm not an economist. I just have an MBA. Okay, let's do a reading. How about that? Let's do a reading while I look at the comments. Normie's got no CJ Star Monkey and Zenny. How are you guys? Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, let me know. We're going to do a reading for all of the NDC viewers, our tribe, and it'll be good for any time anybody watches this video, even if it's even if it's days or even weeks from now. Okay, so our oracle reading will include one planet, one zodiac sign, and one house. And it's not like we go looking into the transit charts because of it. We are simply using this as an archetype. So the first is sun. That's cool. So we have the sun. Now we're going to look at the zodiac sign, and not cherry picking these, just waiting for the one card to sort of pop out. And I'm not looking at the cards, just waiting for Sun in Aquarius. Cool. That's what I'm talking about. Aquarius is a fixed sign. Just so we know. Air sign. Some people erroneously call it a water sign because the archetype, the image, is that we spread water around. What water in that context is knowledge. Knowledge, spreading wisdom. So it's an air sign, air fixed. Nope. And now we're looking for a house to put this archetype in. Nope. There's two. When there's two cards, I call it not good. Not good. Okay, there we go. In the fourth house of what you care about, house, the homestead, family roots are in there. Okay, what you care about. Okay, doing it in a very Aquarian way, so unique, free, knowledge-based, disclosure, but also rebellious. Can be rebellious in a way. Rebellious in that kind of rebukes tradition. And the sun is obviously the golden light in the sky, gives life to all of humanity, but is in the context of astrology represents your inner self, your soul, your guiding light to this life. And so the suggestion here, if this is our oracle reading, is more of finding your rebellious self, willing to just be yourself. That's one of the traits of Aquarius, is doing it very authentically, unique to you. That would also, if you do this really well, would look weird to the status quo. So if you're not called weird, you probably have a little bit left of getting to the Aquarian side of yourself. So is bring out the absolute truest form of yourself, and that is the best way to bring your inner light out into that which you care about, and your family and your homestead. And so that starts there. Starts by being your true self, unabashed, even rebellious. Rebellious against what? Well, mainly just the status quo, which is ironic because Aquarius is a fixed sign. So anyway, don't be afraid to be yourself, and especially around the home and anything that you really care about. Okay, there's your reading for today. Now what I want to do is go to Saturn. I want to go look into the future and see what the heck is going on with Saturn. I want to see okay, so let me back up. The contraction theme that we've already talked about, where is this coming from? Well, I think it's coming from that mini grand trine. And yeah, it's gotten a little lighter because Saturn is in a retrograde, and the orb from Pluto and Uranus is a little bit further, but it keeps getting tagged by, well, it was first Mars, then Sun, then Mercury, and now Venus getting tagged on the opposite end. So it ignites the Saturn aspect. Every time that axis gets tagged, which it has been doing for the past couple of months, contraction ensues. Some form of contraction. It's a contraction of illusion. Whew, that's a gateway into the awakening, isn't it? Contraction of illusion. We also have challenging your imagination, challenging your dream. And so anyway, I want to see what the future looks like. So apologize, but I have to never mind. I don't apologize. Here, let's just go. So now we're no longer in a live chart, but we are on today, 8 October, and we're going to go into months. Can't see what I'm doing in the video, but behind my picture, I'm selecting the time period, and then I'm going to move forward. And we're just going to watch this. So now we're 8 November, and Neptune is also in Pisces in retrograde. And so what we're going to do is look and see when Saturn finalizes this pinnacle of the mini grand trine. It's going to be here for a while, as you can see. So now we're into January of 2026. Now both of Saturn and Neptune, obviously of the two, Saturn is the faster of the two planets. So if both of those stay direct, Saturn will find Uranus, and I think it's not going to happen until Aries. But my point is, which I didn't hammer home yet, is that Saturn never gets out of orb with the sextiles to Pluto and Uranus. So this contraction theme, contraction, challenge, challenge to collectivism in a way, or challenging towards collectivism or togetherness or oneness. At least for now, Saturn, as of 8 February, is in Pisces. So I don't have any weeks, but let's just go days. So if you can see, we're just going day by day. There's Saturn. So on 14, that's Valentine's Day, 2026, Saturn's going to go into Aries. And this conjunction comes into high time. Meanwhile, Pluto has progressed to 4 degrees. Uranus is back in Taurus. So that's something to keep in mind. And so we're almost there. We're at 20 February. And these are 1 minute away. So they're pretty much conjunct, Saturn and Neptune. This is 20 February 2026. And still in an orb with sextile to Pluto. And still within an orb to Uranus. So there's that. Uranus now direct. Still all conjunct. So this contraction thing is making changes. Contraction is part of it. It's not the whole thing. We're in March now. We're looking at Saturn is about a degree away now. And now we're going to be looking at the orb between, there's a contraction of the money supply, probably. There's conjunction of Saturn and Venus somewhere around March 2026. You know, this Venus is going to go over Saturn pretty much on an annual basis. So no big surprise there. Nothing big has to happen, but maybe a contraction there. Looking for an orb and looking at the quality of this mini grand trine. Okay, still. Conjunctions typically are about 8 degrees. That's what we're looking for. So we're only halfway there. Not even halfway there. 3 degrees. Not even 3 degrees. Boy. So still there. This is the end of March. Still 3 degrees, 4 degrees away now. Boy, oh boy. Saturn and Neptune. Uranus is about to come back into Gemini. And I'll stop it when it does. And Mars then just passed over. Mercury and Mars passed over the two. So there it is, Uranus. Oh, so now we're into April. We're at the end of April. Uranus is back into Gemini. Pluto's at 5 degrees. Neptune is at 3 degrees. So the mini grand trine is still there. Still challenging the self-image. Challenging you to imagine the best form of yourself. And mentally assimilating that, mentally transforming it into the best form of yourself. Pluto station. So we're going to get tighter now. Okay, right here is about 7 degrees orb in the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune. So we're talking mid 2026 now. Still have another degree to go. Pluto now in retrograde. We're in June now. There you go. There's about 8 degrees. So all the way to about June. These are further out planets. That conjunction ends, but that doesn't mean the mini grand trine ends. You've got only 2 degrees orb over to Uranus. You've got 1 degree. So now we're just pretty much on Neptune. So Neptune in Aries is the ideal self. Dreams of defending yourself. Dreams of how to assert yourself. Dreams of your biggest passions. Putting those on fire. And assimilating those into how it changes your views, mental views. And then let's just look, since we're here, let's look at, I'm just going to go to the month. So now we're in July. 4/4. So this is when it really, let's look at July 4th. What do you say? 10 days before this. There's July 4th, 2026. Uranus is at basically 4 degrees. Pluto at 4 degrees 48 minutes. So about a degree off of orb from the trine between the two. And then Neptune is at 4 degrees, midway between both of those. So that's a pretty tight mini grand trine. And it's just Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Well, and Mars is in there. So you got the rebellious Uranus and the warrior Mars together in Gemini. So there's some mental fights going on here. So that's interesting. So that mini grand trine with Neptune is still, it's pretty hot right there. And this is getting into mid-July 2026. There's a pretty much exact sextile between Neptune and Uranus. Whew. Man, this is going to go on for quite some time. Now they're all, so this is pretty much exact right here with Neptune and Pluto, an exact sextile. That's really tight in at the end of July 2026. That's when it pretty much all goes exact. Now let's go to the month August. 3 degrees, 3 degrees. Still, so we're in September of 2026. Transforming, everything's still pretty tight. So I'm about a degree off now. Whew. Okay, so Neptune now in a retrograde. And this is when the wheels are going to start coming off here. Whew, what is that? Lots of trines there, squares galore. Looks pretty symmetrical. But anyway, yeah, 3 degrees. Well, still pretty tight. Man, so let's go April 2027. It's still, okay, it's still there. So Neptune at 5 degrees, Uranus at 4 degrees, Pluto at 7 degrees. It's still there. Mini grand trine, mid 2027. Still there. Still there. So we're in September 2027. Okay. There we go. It's starting to degrade, but Neptune and Pluto still together. So you got the ideal self and transforming into the, I don't know, the rebellious one within, the one that's not scared to be yourself, to be weird, disclosure, transformation of secrets revealed, knowledge revealed. Anyway. All right, what do we got? John Doe, how you doing? There's your answer. We have somewhere around, I don't know, call it mid to late September 2027. This mini grand trine is going to be changing the context behind the scenes, and it will bubble out into reality. You're going to see truer forms of self. You're going to see periodic fixation on what we think we know, only to know that you have to change your mind. Going to have everybody changing their mind while Uranus is in Gemini. And we need to give people that out, right? You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to have different changing your beliefs. Says the Aquarian. I don't know. Some people don't believe that. I don't know why. Any questions? Interesting angle. Most are unaware of the assault on their consciousness by the controlling factors. That control is slipping. I agree. CJ Star Monkey, I agree. That control over the consciousness is slipping and falling. And that partly is this whole Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini. Both of those together. Too many questions. I agree. If you don't have any questions, I'm not saying as far as communicating in this setting. I'm saying just to yourself. Then you haven't sought enough knowledge, because really, in my opinion, years and years of just seeking the truth, all you get is more questions. The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. And it doesn't mean you give up. It means that becomes your way of life. Welcome to the world of Uranus in Gemini. All right, what did I miss? I think I got everything and no questions. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for the folks who are coming after this. Don't forget, the reading for today is to really go into what you care about and your domicile, your home, your family, and be not the best version of yourself. Don't focus on that. Focus on being the deconditioned form of self. That's the goal. The goal is not to be the best, although, like self-improve, I'm all for it. Self-improvement, there is a dark side to that. We can talk about that at another time. But the one I want you to think about, if you're willing to, is to decondition self, and within is the truest form of self, being unabashed, being confident in self, and just being yourself, especially in areas of your comfort zone. Be in a comfort zone of being willing to just be your true, authentic self. All right, that's it. Namaste to all of you. Thank you for being here. And let's watch this mini Grand Trine play out. Boom. Take care. Love.